Today, we're diving into one of the most fundamental ideas in all of economics, perfect competition. Now, I want you to imagine you're in a market where you have absolutely, positively zero control over the price of whatever it is you're selling. What happens then? Well, let's find out.
Have you ever had a job where you felt, well, kind of replaceable? Like babysitting or mowing lawns? Where there are tons of other people doing the exact same thing, and if you even thought about charging a little more than the going rate, poof, your customers would just hire the next person. That feeling, right there, of being totally interchangeable, that's the very heart of what economists call perfect competition.
So yeah, there's a name for this. It's a market where firms are what we call price takers. And that name is pretty literal. It means the market, the combined force of all buyers and sellers, sets the price, and each individual firm can either take it or leave it. They have no power to change it. Not at all. Okay, so to really get our heads around this, we're going to follow the journey of one small business. Let's picture a raspberry farmer, as they try to make a living in this unique market. We'll look at their total lack of power, how they figure out how much to actually produce, what on earth they do when things go south, and finally, why making crazy high profits is basically impossible in the long run. First things first, let's set the stage and really understand the unforgiving world a raspberry farmer is operating in. This is a game with some very, very strict rules.
This quote just says it all, doesn't it? It gets right to the core of being a price taker. See, our farmers' raspberries are identical to thousands of others. So if they decide to charge even one single penny more than everyone else, every single customer will just go to the next stall. In this market, there's just no such thing as brand loyalty.
And this whole price taker reality, it exists because of four key conditions. First, you have tons of firms making identical products. One raspberry is as good as the next. Second, there are loads of buyers and sellers. Third, everyone knows what the going price is. There are no secrets. And fourth, it's super easy for new farmers to get into the business or for current ones to get out. You put those four rules together and you get a brutally competitive environment.
So, if our farmer can't choose their price, what choice do they have left? Well, their only real decision is quantity. How many packs of raspberries should they actually grow and bring to the market to make the most money possible? All right, let's break down the numbers. Let's say the market price is a flat $4 per pack. Now watch what happens to the profit column. As they produce more, the profit goes up, but only to a point. It peaks right there at $90, somewhere between producing 70 and 80 packs. After that, look, the costs start to climb too fast, and making more actually starts to make you less money. Now, calculating your total profit at every single possible quantity, it works, but it's pretty clunky, right? Businesses need a faster way, a kind of rule of thumb, to make these decisions on the fly. So the question is there a more elegant way to find that perfect profit sweet spot?
You bet there is, and it all comes from thinking at the margin. So what does that mean? Well, marginal revenue is just the extra money you get from selling one more pack. In this case, it's always the market price, $4. Marginal cost is the extra cost of producing that one extra pack. And notice how that marginal cost starts low, but then it starts to climb. So the real question becomes, at what point do these two numbers finally meet?
And this, right here, reveals the golden rule for maximizing profit. It's simple. Keep producing as long as the money you get from the next unit is more than what it cost you to make. That sweet spot, the place to stop, is where they are exactly equal. For our farm, that happens at a quantity of 80 packs, where both the marginal revenue and the marginal cost are $4. That's the signal from the market, stop right here. Okay, but what happens when things go wrong? Let's imagine the market price for raspberries just tanks, and now our farmer is losing money no matter how many they produce. This leads to a really, really tough decision.
So the price drops. The farmer is guaranteed to lose money this season. The question isn't about maximizing profit anymore, it's about minimizing loss. So should they keep the farm open and just lose some money? Or should they shut down completely for the season and lose, well, how much would they lose then?
Let's look at this. Imagine our farmer has $100 in fixed costs for the season. That's stuff like the lease on the land, which they have to pay no matter what. If they shut down, boom, they lose that $100. But what if they stay open? Even at a lower price, maybe they can make $80 in revenue. And if their variable costs, like paying people to pick the berries, are only $60, then they have $20 left over to help pay a part of that land lease. So in this case, staying open and losing $80 is actually better than shutting down and losing the full $100.
This all boils down to a critical line in the sand that economists call the shutdown point. It's the price where you can just cover your day-to-day variable costs, your workers, your packaging, and so on. If the market price is above this point, you should absolutely stay open because every sale helps chip away at your fixed costs. But if the price drops below this point, now you're losing money on every single pack you sell. And at that point, the smartest move is to shut down immediately and wait for better days.
Okay, so let's pull the camera back now. So far, we've been focused on one farmer's short-term decisions. But what happens in the long run, when other people see what's going on in the raspberry market?
Let's say our raspberry farmer is making fantastic profits. Well, in a perfectly competitive market, that's like ringing a dinner bell. Other farmers, maybe they're growing wheat, see those profits and think, hey, I should be growing raspberries. This is called entry. And as all these new farmers flood the market, the total supply of raspberries skyrockets. And what happens when supply goes way up? The price falls, eroding everybody's profits until eventually they basically disappear.
And, the exact opposite is also true. If raspberry farmers are all losing money, some of them are going to give up and go back to growing wheat. This is called exit. As farmers leave the market, the total supply of raspberries shrinks. With fewer raspberries to go around, the market price starts to creep back up, until the farmers who stuck it out are no longer losing money.
So where does all this entering and exiting eventually lead? It leads to a state that economists call long-run equilibrium. It's this point of perfect balance where the price settles so that the average firm makes zero economic profit. Now, that doesn't mean they're broke. It means they're making just enough to cover all their costs, including what they could have earned doing something else. There's just no incentive for new people to come in and no reason for anyone to leave.
Now, this might sound a little bleak for our farmer, but it is fantastic for society as a whole. This relentless, brutal competition leads to two incredibly powerful types of efficiency. First, productive efficiency. Firms are forced by competition to produce at the absolute lowest possible cost. And second, allocative efficiency. The price you pay for those raspberries perfectly reflects what it costs society to produce them. In short, there is no waste. Resources are being used in the best possible way.
And that brings us to our final, really crucial question. Perfect competition is held up as the gold standard, the benchmark for efficiency in economics. It's like a theoretical ideal. So if it's so great, why is it so rare in the real world? And maybe more importantly, what does its rarity tell us about the prices we actually pay and the choices we actually have every single day?